Can everybody put the glass up for me real quick?
Oh, no.
Camera's live.
All right, hey, so look, appreciate everybody being here, man. Hey, listen, I'm gonna get a little sappy before we start. Every single one of y'all, in some way, shape, or form, that held down for each other, but for me more specifically.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
This is why I don't be serious, y'all. This is why I'll never be serious.
I'm sorry.
Bro, I can't never be serious with this music.
Hey.
All right.
No, I'm just saying, like, on some real, everybody done been in each other's corner. We done been, like, through a lot, both, independently and collectively. So, I'm proud of y'all, where everybody at, for real. So, this is to us. We're going to get into some good today.
Come on now.
Warren was tired from that toast.
I was about to say, y'all better not break my glasses with these clips now.
No, you're not. Let's get it. We back at it, everybody. It's Derek. Everybody just go around and say who they are. Let's get it.
I guess we're going to start with me because I'm next to Derek. I'm Cam. That's pretty much it. I cook sometimes.
I'm Dejan. Now let me start. I'm Dejan Smoke. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I ain't gonna get into the whole spiel.
What's happening? I'm Jalen. Lens, whatever you want to call me. Same person.
It's your boy Big Quan, Raekwon, the other co-host here, Champagne Delight, back with another one. Yes, sir.
What we back with this time, Quan? What's the topic of conversation?
We talking about perception, and that's finna get deep today. I got somebody here shedding a tear on this episode. Probably Lens, but let's get into it.
It'll probably be a close second if it ain't Lens, but I'm gonna throw
think
myself
it's
in the hat. I mean, perception is always, it's that you can go so many ways with that. You can go so many ways with that off the top. Let me just start with
You gonna eat the
what's the? You might as well. Ain't no point in making that food get cold. You're gonna
No,
bust
it
down.
done fell apart regardless.
I'm telling you.
That's crazy.
But
We're not-
perception though, what is perception? When y'all think of that word, what kind of come to mind? Just in a you can go as broad or as specific as you want.
I think perception really is one's outlook on certain things. So like your perception can be various if you're talking about multiple people, or if you're talking about just like an outlook on a certain situation, like your perspective, or your perception of yourself. So I mean, like, it's just, I think perception is really just like your outlook or idea of a situation.
Yeah, I feel like perception, perspective, they're all different ways of saying the same thing. But I think the biggest thing is like there's the perception that you have of yourself, and then there's the perception of everyone else has of you. And that's one big thing. Like how you view yourself and how others view you don't always align. There's also the fact that like everybody's upbringing and whatever everybody else has going on in their life affects their perception. So if we take two people and one of them has a brother, one of them has a sister, they're going to have completely different perceptions on life because of how they grew up and how their brother and or sister affected them.
Yeah.
That's real.
I definitely think a big part of perception is your past experiences. They definitely shape how you view people, how you view situations, circumstances, even yourself. I think that's a really big one. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Like, I think with your past experiences, it just changed how you look at the world. Like, whether it's some people be mad at the world, some people are timid when it comes to the world, and some people just live life to the fullest. So
I kind of want to hop in right there because I think most recently, I think I had conversations with just about everybody except Cam as it pertains to some form of perception. Me and Len's conversation was probably the most far apart from like today, but I just talked to both of y'all about like perception conversations, and just like even the other day when we was talking on the phone, like just that is something that I've always realized at some point in time matters to me. Like how people view. I talked about it in the first episode. Like a lot of the stuff that I've done in life is just performance based, whether that's, you know what I'm saying, playing sports, whether that's being growing up in the church and you got to play the drums, you got to do the Easter speeches, you the preacher's kid or you the preacher, the bishop's grandson, you got to do all of this, that, and the third. I've always been like, what will they think? That's like always been the subtext of everything in my mind, and I'm just trying to figure out like, do y'all have like a timeline or like a point of reference, and it's just like, damn, this when I realized like what other people think, kind of like. You kind of like make me change how I'm moving. You know what I'm saying?
I've always done that, and I hate to admit that I've always done that, but one thing I've learned as I've gotten older is that everybody always does that in some way, shape, or form. Even people that go like, I don't bend for nobody. You bend for your other friends that don't bend for nobody. Like, everybody typically wants to fit in some sort of box because people are communal, people exist in groups. While you might not want to exist in the box that's already made, in saying that I don't fit in this box and all these other people that don't fit in the box, next thing you know, y'all have your own box of not being in a box. So everybody, like, I realized that, when did I realize that? Like middle school, when I realized just how different groups move and being in different clubs or playing sports versus going to class and seeing how different people act in different situations, I was like, I wonder what these people think of me. I wonder how these people think of me when they see me at lunch versus how they see me in class versus how they see me at practice and stuff like that.
So you saying like fit it going, because that was kind of I like that. You saying fitting in with the misfits is a perception in and of itself, kind of sort of.
Yeah, kind of.
Because like, I kind of see what I think I can see
like a lot of the times, and this is just me observing and speaking for myself. This isn't facts or whatever, but I always find that a lot of the people that love to say that they don't fit in the box, that group of people that doesn't fit in the box tends to have a lot of similar things in common, and they tend to find each other. And now y'all have created this box that is, granted, not inside the box, but the issue wasn't the box itself. It was who was in the box with you.
Literally like how you get like, yeah, the goth scene, the emo scene, the alternative scene, all those groups of people who are like against the grain, but in doing that, you're still finding a box to fit in. Yeah, you've made a new grain. Yeah.
I never thought about that way. I think for me, when I was younger, it was about fitting in, but it was kind of like I spent a lot of time with my cousins, so it's like you don't really fit in with your cousins. Everybody just themselves for the most part. I think the older I got, the only perception I really cared about was my mother and my grandmother. Like, what do they think about me? And I mean, like, yeah, you know, they tell me they're proud of me all the time and stuff like that. But outside of that, I could really give a...
Can I piggyback on that, though?
Yeah, do you think?
Because I've spent so much time in my life, kind of like what both of y'all have touched on, of like, not caring about others' perceptions and then wanting to be the misfit, wanting to be different. I've always prided myself on like, I don't care what anybody thinks of me, right? I don't care if I act this way, that way, I'm different. I move on my own accord. But I realized later in life, even with that, I cared about the perception that others didn't think I cared about their perception.
That's
so like in that, I still cared about like, I cared about them thinking I didn't care. So I would sometimes I'm going against the grain just to say I'm going against the grain. I'm going like, I'm acting like I'm dolo, or I'm acting like, you know, like these things just for the perception that I don't care what you think about me.
Okay.
And it's still me caring about the perception.
I mean, when you say it that way, that makes sense, because that is caring about the perception when you want, like when you don't care about what people think. Mm-hmm. I ain't never really thought of it that way.
What about you, Lance?
Why do you always like look at me before you know about the car?
He did that. He definitely did that.
That's what I'm saying.
I'll be curious what you gonna say.
He think you about to cap. That's what it is. He think you about to cap up.
He said, "What about you, Liz?"
Yeah, no, for real.
He hit you with one of these.
I think that I'll be honest. So I think I started caring about people's perception of me at a really young age. But that's because, like, I was raised in a single parent household. Like, it was me and my mom for the most part. My mom had my little brother, and it was like, all right, I have to make sure like I'm the best person I can possibly be for my little brother, because like his dad wasn't in the picture for real. It was me and my mom, and then like every now and then like my little brother went to go move in with my stepdad, so it was just like, you know, when he comes home, I want him to still realize like I'm here, and like he doesn't have to be like, essentially I was like, you don't have to be like your daddy, you can be like me, you can be whoever you want to be, you can be the best version of yourself, and just, you know, have fun, do your thing.
Role.
Exactly, like I was in the big brother role, so I think that's when I really started to like realize what other people's perceptions was, and like kind of put, you know, I had to think about their perspective. And then I think when I got to middle school, for real, is like when I was like, this is what people think of me. Like I think middle school for real is like I think it's a really big,
Like a defining time.
It's crazy.
Exactly. It's a canon event for everybody.
It's very impressionable.
That bullying go crazy.
It is a canon event for
But
everybody.
I think you've had the most honest answer in the sense of not necessarily like honest, but most realistic. You care about perceptions from when by the time you're like 2 or 3, realistically, in my opinion, you care about perceptions. Like babies, people don't realize how like manipulative and like babies are. Like at 1 to 2 years old, like babies act differently when you're in the room than when you're not in the room.
Oh, for sure.
Like you care that young. It's like ingrained in us, I think, to care about like how you're viewed or what they think of you.
I see it in my niece all of the time. How she like, it'll be as simple as like me and my sister and her will go to the grocery store, and I take her to the car and sit down and wait on my sister to come. And the way that she acts in literally those 5 minutes that it takes for my sister to check out or come to wherever, she's so different than she is. And my sister gets in the car, Mommy, can we do this? Mommy, can we do that?
So I want to ask now, like, we talked about like that middle school and younger age, but like since that realization, like how heavily do y'all think that weighs now on how you move? Like really?
I think it weighs fairly heavily, but it weighs in a different way heavily. Like at first there was less of a moral outlook on it and me just wanting to be liked for the sake of being liked. But I remember, this is a canon event for me. I remember at my dad's memorial service, like he had his funeral in Charleston, and then he had his memorial service at our church in Columbia. And there were all his friends from work and all the people in the church, and a couple people from when he grew up were saying all of these things about him and what a good man he was and all these other things. And then my goal when it came to how I wanted to be perceived is I want people to speak about me like this when I'm gone. And I don't want to be perceived in a good way for like, because I want people to like me. I want to be a good man because when I leave, I want people to have that impression of he was a good man for the right reasons.
That reminds me of that what I said on that first episode of being liked versus respected. You know, like you want to have that really respect when you leave a legacy of respect as opposed to just doing whatever willy-nilly to be liked.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. I think like the older you get as a man, it's about respect. Like you want to be respected by your peers. You want to be respected once you have kids. You want to be respected by your spouse. Like I think as a man, it's all about like, okay, if I'm respected, then like there's nothing else for me to really want. Like as long as the people around you respect you, like yeah, you know, you might get into it. Even
laughing at your stomach.
I'm definitely talking that shit.
You heard it?
hold on. even like in the corporate world, like you want to be respected in your
field.
space. Yeah, like it's. I think once you get older and you really understand what it is, like once you like start growing full blown into a man, like we all 24 years and older in here, so it's like we coming into becoming full men, full grown men. With our careers and stuff like that. So it's like
I would almost argue, sorry not to cut you off, but you making that point, I would almost argue based off of all of our respective life experiences that we probably done had to come into that a little bit earlier for all of us, like past that 20 somethings. Like you talk about and
Really?
I had a question for him off of what you originally said for when you kind of noticed it first. because and we can circle back to that because I do want to talk about that too. But you said something that stuck out to me. You said you noticed how you wanted to make sure your perception that your little brother had of you was one that like looked at me, I'm big bro type. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Right? Maybe that's just something that you haven't thought about. But does his perception matter more, or do like peer perceptions, or like which one do you think probably hits hardest for you?
Me personally, I care more about what my brother thinks of me than I care about what everybody else thinks of me.
Yeah.
Like, my two little brothers, for real, like, there is nothing on this earth that I would not do for them.
Yeah.
Like, they know that they're all I got and I'm all they got. You know what I'm saying? Like, my mom said it like this the other day. Like, she said, if any one of y'all go to jail and you call the baby called the middle brother, and the middle brother call you. That's how it's gonna work. And that's how it's gonna be. Like, the triangle we got is solid.
Locked in.
No, that's
I'm telling
when
you.
he asked the question, even me like observing you with your brothers, I already knew the answer.
For sure.
Like I see you with Lay, I see you with Nick, like, you know what I'm saying?
It's
For sure.
them and nothing else.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to say this. I love my coworkers, but their opinions. If they don't like me, if they got some ill will or ill temperament toward me, I really don't give a
That's a disposable perception.
Exactly.
Your brother's perceptions of you, that's not disposable. Not just their perception, that relationship.
Exactly. No, for real.
Man, that's dope. So going back to what you were saying, or what I'll go back to what I just said, and I'll go back to the original question. When I think based off of all of our life experiences, and if y'all share as much as y'all can, but I just know like being exposed to some of the different circumstances of having separations, of the moving around and all the different things that you want to talk about as far as your life, because you could write a book, honestly, let's be honest. Losing your father, you had to move a couple of times. The separations and different things like that, different relationships coming and going, it's that creates such a level of maturity that you not even like thinking about, even to just learning how to cook eggs before you probably need to learn how to cook eggs. I would say, like,
Can I cut you off real quick?
Go ahead.
I want to say you left out a very important detail, and I hate to always take it there, but it does matter in this specific room. When talking about perception, just being a black man,
For sure.
like being a black man, that perception weighs so heavily, right? Of like constantly being aware of what people think of you. Are you being threatening? Are you being like whatever, right? Like that matters. Like how am I like, I literally remember I was in the fifth grade, and like back then I'm a straight A student. Like I play sports, all these things, like whatever. I talk in class, but what kid don't do that? And I remember my sister had got an award or something, and she put these tickets in an envelope to like we had like this knockoff Harlem Wizards in my hometown.
We did too.
It was not Harlem Wizards, I just call it some Harlem Wizards, some shit like that.
Ours was the Harlem Rockets. You
Yeah, it
remember
was the
that
Harlem
day?
Wizards, right?
I don't even remember
She
that.
put the tickets in an envelope though, and she gave them to me on the bus, and she was like, "It's my big brother, they love you." Da 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 da. This little envelope. Took the tickets out, tossed the envelope on the ground of the bus. Nothing of it. The next day I get on the bus. Principal put me off the bus. Me and my little sister. I'm in the 5th grade. Sister in the 2nd grade. Pull us off the bus, and they was basically accusing us of selling drugs. In the 5th grade, she's in the 2nd grade. She don't even know what the fuck drugs really are.
Yeah.
But they're accusing us of selling drugs because of the perception they had of us, right? And it's like, that's when I really was cognizant of like, it's in the wrong way at that time, because at that point in time, I'm like, okay, I gotta really like be on my best behavior at all times to make sure that nobody's thinking I'm moving in the wrong way, right? So I think for this room, that's something important to like mention.
That shit hit so hard.
That
like,
is real. Can
Go ahead.
I remember I was older when like the first time like I realized how people perceived my race as like a big deal. It was after the Trayvon Martin shooting. And I think we were in like 7th, 8th grade.
I think that shooting had a lot to do with every black man's But yeah,
Your parents wouldn't even let you wear hoodies out the house no more. Like,
So for me specifically, I lived in Lake Carolina, and there's a YMCA in the back of Lake Carolina. And I think I had to be in 8th grade because I was like trying to work out for football, and I was like, I want to get big and I want to get strong, and I was like, I'm gonna get up early, I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna walk to the gym, and I'm gonna lift. And I was talking to my parents about how I wanted to lift and get strong, and my mom didn't want me to do it because I'm her little baby and she don't want me to do nothing. But my dad was like, I don't want you out here walking through the neighborhood before dawn at dark because I don't know what anybody's gonna do. And I was like, what are you talking about? And it wasn't until I like really thought about what happened and how he was literally just walking in his neighborhood, and now he's not here anymore.
Yeah.
And he was older than me at the time. And the same thing could happen. I've seen Tamir Rice happen, and Tamir Rice was younger than I was at the time. And that's a crazy weight for us to have to live with every day.
Yeah. I was just about to say, first of all, that was like, yeah, that was very well put. That was very well put. I want to say that first and foremost. What I was thinking about when you made that point is just how much of it almost moved me to tears sometimes just thinking about that shit, man. It's like I don't have to do anything but walk out the door with a rag on my head and some shades on, and I get followed around Publix. And my high yellow ass don't got no reason to look like no threat to nobody. You know, if we want to talk about the colorism from the second episode, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But that's the craziest thing about the perspective.
You know, and it's just like, we all got a profiling story. Going back to your original question, you asked, how does that perception play now? How does the perception play now for me? You know, when one thing that we did on that second episode, in the colorism episode, when you said the statement, acting white is real, that really made me go back to the drawing board and really think about some stuff. And I feel like, especially in corporate America, that's a huge perception that matters.
I hate to say it, but yeah.
The white perception matters to me. And that's because for so long, that fear that kind of is somewhat of a parallel to when you get them blue lights on behind you and you get pulled over if you walking with a hood on. The fear of getting like my livelihood taken from me, like that was such a scary thing up until late. As I get older, I'm starting to realize more like I am potentially the business. I am, you know, the investment, and like that uniqueness in and of itself. I can't be afraid of who is not or who is going to like that. You know what I'm saying? But for so long, it's like, when you think from the perspective of working for someone for so long and like just being an employee, then all those perceptions of like, oh, is this tie too crooked? What if I wear my earring? What if I say that instead of that, you know, on camera or whatever the case may be? Like, I still wrestle with it for real. Like, I got to the point now where it's just like I'm starting to just say, okay, that might have looked lame, but it's okay. Or like that might have looked a little too black in a certain space, but I'm gonna just rock with it because that was me. But it's still a second guess. I can't lie every single time. So I don't know about y'all, but
I think as long as you your authentic self, like nobody can truly say anything to you. It's when you like code switch all the time, that's when you might get a weird look when you like finally are like your authentic black self. Like I know we both people who work in news, so it's like we're working in news. People think you're supposed to talk a certain way and be a certain way all the time, but me, I mean, I'm a digital content producer, so I work behind a computer all day. But at the same time,
tag, dog. Pop your tag.
So I mean, at the same time, like when I'm walking through the newsroom and I'm talking to different people, I'm not, hey, how are you doing today, Nas? What's up? Like, you good? Like, it don't matter. Like, I think as long as you always yourself, like nobody could really say anything to you, because it's like, if somebody does say something to you now, it's like, oh, you don't want me to be myself in the newsroom. I'm gonna play that card.
But for real though, it's funny you say that, because like I used to just be like, hey, how we doing? Like, how's everybody doing? And like literally, I intentionally go out my way now. Every time I walk in the newsroom, I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah, what's good, everybody? Like,
I literally say, what's happening? Like
I've always had the thought when I started applying to jobs post college. Like, my thought has always been, I got tats all up to my damn arm. You feel me? I'm not about to wear a long sleeve shirt every day. My tattoo literally say their names on my arm, like that kind of shit. So for me, I've always had that same mentality, and even in the sense of if I'm applying for a job, when I apply for a job I have now, I had freeform locks. You feel me? Like tattoos showing, short sleeve shirt, like. And if I can't be my most authentic self, I don't want the job. Yeah. You feel me? And even when it comes down to, and I always say this, and I pray that one day I'll never have to find out, but I always say I'm willing and I'd much rather die being myself than live on another day not being myself. And I really mean that shit. Like, for real.
That's valid.
I feel that, but I think that perception's really multifaceted. So I don't work in the corporate world at all. I work in the service industry. And as a chef, line cook, whatever, I can show up to work looking however the hell I want, really. I can be tatted up. I can have crazy hair. I can do, as long as nothing's infecting anybody's
sanitation
food, as long as it's sanitary wise, I'm good. I can talk however I want because nobody has to talk to me. But I can't cook how I want. At all.
Speaking on that, like showing up however, like I made it a thing. Like my first week of work, I came in polo, dress pants or khakis or something like that. But now it's like, you see how other people come into work and it's like, okay, you're being your authentic self. Like I remember this white guy I was working with. He would come in like Carolina shirts and like old vintage shirts like that. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let's see if anybody says anything to me. So I started wearing Supreme to work, stuff like that with jeans and sneakers, and nobody said anything. So it's all about you like taking that step to actually do it. And then once you do it, if somebody says something to you, then it's like, okay, you can address that situation in that moment. Depending on how they say something and how they feel about it, at the same time, who gives a how they feel? Like, that's just what it is.
But even in that,
in my job,
it also depends on spaces too.
Yeah, I would say my job, it very much depends. Like, the one thing that we care about more than anything in the food industry is how people feel and how it makes people feel. I remember the first time I made greens in my new job, made them the way I always make them, and then I prepped them and made them the day before. And I was serving them that day at lunch, and then I kept hearing.
And the white folks said too much salt.
No, not too much salt.
Too spicy.
They too spicy. They too spicy.
It was the salt. It was the salt.
But all my black ass coworkers were like, "Damn, these greens are good as hell."
Yeah.
But I have to, in order to not necessarily thrive, but to survive in this business and in this line of work, I have to hide little bits of myself in order to make myself presentable for everyone.
That I was going to get into that question with Lens, but I guess you just kind of tapped into it because you are in more of a the politics in that line of work. So the question I was going to ask is, with the fact of whose perception matters in, or kind of pandering to the perception of the dominant forces, white people, if you want to call it that, in these corporate spaces. Is there a need?
This point is elite black people too.
I was gonna say, because I'm not gonna. I don't.
Them coons be cooning.
So let me ask this though. The question I'm getting at, I'm kind of being long-winded, but to get to the point, is there a necessary evil in playing the role till the role changes? Because I was having this conversation at the barbershop. Shout out to my barber Vince. We was in the barbershop, we was talking, and he was just like, if you got, he's talking to this young, he's like, if you got dreads,
locks,
whatever. If you got locks, dreadlocks, if you got locks, and somebody tell you, at your job, we need you to cut them locks, and you ain't got no other means of income right then and there, you gonna cut them locks, or you gonna be like, no, these are my locks, and the dude was like, I'm gonna cut them. And he was like, why you going to do that? You're going to mess up your income. You're going to da-da-da-da-da. You can sit there and climb the ladder, get to a point of managerial position. Then you can have all the locks you want. The hair going to grow back. And that was his conversation. And the point he was getting at was like, if it's not your game that you created, if you gotta play, then you got to play the rules
I
of
don't
that
want to
game.
play that game.
Hold on. If it's the game if it's not, I'm just telling you what he says. Let me get with his point off first, and I want to hear what y'all got to say about it. If you don't want to play the game, we hear it. But he was saying, if it's not your game if you didn't create the game, then you got to play the rules of whoever created that game until you can be to the point where you got the influence to change the rules. And in other words, playing the roles till the roles change, and then getting to be able to do what you want. I just want to hear what y'all think about that.
In that instance, that's a microaggression though, because it's like, why are you commenting on my hair when I do good work? Like my hair has nothing to do with the amount of like the type of work I do. So it's like, you just want me to do that because you're at a higher level than me, and you want me to play by your rules when I really don't have to play by your rules.
Well, let's say that your appearance matters in your line of work.
Sometimes,
because our line of work, appearance, especially for on-air talent, that's number one.
Yeah, I can understand that in a sense of, oh, they're not done. Like your locks aren't done, and they're all over the place. Yeah.
Whoa, no. Let's not go there.
Yeah, freeform locks on television. Let's go there.
No. I'm not saying like that's okay. I'm just saying like if Lens doesn't get his hair done, but he's on camera and it's all grown out, the dreads is you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're saying, and I 100% disagree with the point because I am so very y'all saw my locks.
But you're but that doesn't
kept them clean though. Like it's a difference between
and
them
not
being
just,
all over the place and them being clean.
And not just that.
I understand being clean, but
undone and unclean is not the same.
But not just that, not just undone and not just unclean. Your job wasn't contingent upon your personal and physical, like that. You being physically like appealing did not factor into whether or not you could do your job. Mm-hmm. But for some people, like myself,
I literally
or like him,
like I agree, but I disagree.
But that you see how that kind of knowing that what your job is, that kind of caters into.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? That plays as a plus in your job situation, considering the context.
Being black is never a plus. But go ahead.
You see what I'm trying to say? You see the point I'm making? But on the flip side of that, if he's on the sideline and he gets caught on somebody else's B-roll sequence with his hair grown out, how is that going to be perceived? If I'm on the desk. If I'm at live at 4 with like no lineup and all my face is overgrown, it's like, what is that perception then? And now how much does that matter? I mean, you get like people get those calls for sometimes in their job.
Can I ask both of y'all a question? Like, so in that sense, I get that, right? If you had a shorty say, like Jay Lenz, Derek, I don't like this aspect of how you like to do this, how to dress exactly, right? You're talking about marrying a woman for 40, 50, 60 plus years. The reality is we work that long. Why would you want to be married to a job or a position or a career that also does not want you to be yourself and enjoy yourself and love yourself how you choose to do so? Like, to me, it's the same. You know what I'm saying? Like
you're spending as much time. You're
spending as much time. You spend as much time with your job as you do with your kids, with your wife.
I agree with that. In the workspace, you just have to correct it. Like once you correct it, they can't say anything else about it. That's like
correcting it? What you mean?
Like you have a conversation. Whoever came to you with the problem of, oh, your hair, oh, your beard, you go have a conversation with them. What's the problem? And then that's how you decide how to move forward. Oh, your beard isn't cleaned up. We just want you to clean up your beard a little bit. We want our on-air talent to have haircuts at all points in time. That's a little bit acceptable just for like our line of work on what you're doing.
Okay.
Because if you're on the camera, like this isn't just people in the newsroom. This is people all throughout
wherever y'all are reaching.
Yeah, hundreds of thousands of people and sponsors and endorsements. I want to hear your response before I hop in on mine though, because I have a response to what you said.
So, for me, I've dealt with both. I've been in situations where they're like, Jalen, I don't think you look too presentable right now. Like, let's see what you can do. Like, what can we do to help you, become more presentable? Bro. So that job, I'm gonna be honest. I was a GA. I'm not making any money.
What the f you want me to do to fix my my
Why you
presentation?
name drop? Why you
You
name drop the job?
definitely
Because
violated
it's-
yourself.
that we gonna put them on Front Street. It's university.
Hey, yo.
So let me put it like this, bro. I would go to practice, right? I'd go be at practice in the morning. Hot, sweaty, I'm not looking good. Just woke up. They're like, you know what, Jalen, can you go freshen up, shower? Can you do something with your hair? Like,
Oh, you was
make
stank,
sure.
then it's understandable.
No, for sure. But I wasn't stank. To be honest, I made sure I wasn't stank. I wasn't sweating that much. I wasn't sweating that much. You tweaking.
It's
So-
Georgia, it's Georgia, it's southeast.
Okay,
You
all right.
stank.
Okay, yes, I probably was.
Think it's any worse than any of the athletes.
Mama said you smell like outside.
Definitely not. You so f***ing hell. So, real life, he would be like, what can we do to help you? Like, I was like, one,
Pay me.
yes. And then two, he was like, well, can you dress like business casual?
I'm so glad you said that. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
He was like, can you dress business casual? I was like, I don't have any money to get business casual gear. You're giving me $150 a month.
Damn.
A month. $150 a month. Yes, I have a free place to stay. Yes, I have a meal plan, but the meal plan was only $1,000 for the month. And if I really needed money, I could use the money from my quote-unquote meal plan to get a Visa gift card to spend on whatever. That was it.
I would have made that work. I'm gonna keep it 100.
I said 1,000 for the meal plan, low key crazy.
I'm only eating off $300 a month for real.
Off the meal plan, and I would have spent $600 on anything else I wanted.
Okay, so
You was doing that.
Y'all missing the point.
no, I wasn't.
We are missing the
Y'all missing the
Okay,
point.
Okay, my
Y'all
bad.
missing the point.
Goofies.
It's hard to live and to live the life that I want to live, like have fun, meet people, go out, go back home, because I couldn't go back home for real.
Ooh, you brought up a good point. Go ahead.
So like I couldn't do that with what I was doing there. So what did I do?
Peace out. Yeah.
Come on now, like I went to Temple.
We
I
gonna
went to
thumbnail
Philly.
that too.
Come
We
on
gonna
now,
thumbnail
like, I had
that.
to
Got
get
in
the
the
fuck
apartment with
up
some
outta
rats
there.
for some freedom.
Hey,
I think that.
I did though.
Derek,
I
did you have something to say to that? Go ahead first.
I did. One of you brothers kindly, top me off.
Champagne.
Pause.
Yeah, big pause.
Definitely.
Cam poured straight champagne.
Hold on. So
Bro, we on the mimosas.
your question was what or why would I want to work somewhere where they don't want me to be myself?
Yeah.
And to that, I will answer one. It's a chess game for me. Life is always a chess game for me. Appreciate it. And so in that regard, I'm always looking at things from a perspective of like I plan on working for myself. Ultimately, I plan on working for myself. One thing I will never negate or turn down is free game. And I feel like in this regard, me being in the space that I'm in is nothing but that. I'm literally getting on the job training and getting paid to learn how to navigate and objectively handle spaces where I have to get answers out of people for questions and stuff like that. But that's one perspective. But going deeper into that, because I know this isn't permanent, and I know that I'm essentially getting some to an extent some free game or some finesse
You're getting
off of this.
experience. You're getting the experience.
I'm getting experience essentially is what it boils down to. I'm gonna soak that up, and when I soak that up and it's my time to move on, I can do whatever I want at that point. And then so going back into what you said something that when he was talking about the haircuts, pay me for my haircut. That's essentially how I handle my, like, if you're gonna make me pander to what you want me to do, then it has to be something that is not going to inconvenience me.
We've made a connection here. I said something earlier. I said as black men, right, we worry about the perception of being black men. As black men, we also just simply function as men. And in that, right, when we're talking about just societal views of what men should be, right, as far as providers, making money, what manhood, what masculinity looks like, I feel like a lot of men pick their career based on that, of I don't necessarily like this, but it's a job, it's a career, it makes good money. It's gonna get me to where I need to be. Like it's gonna get me to where I need to be, right? And I'm gonna stick it out in that, because that's what men do. And that's a perception we have of what men should be. And we, all men, are concerned about that. We all sat here and said we don't care about perceptions and stuff like that. You care about the perception of your manhood.
1,000%.
1,000%. And a lot of choices you make every single day. And like I feel like that goes heavily into your career path and the career choices you make. Would y'all agree? Like, you know what I'm saying?
I do.
In a way, yes, but I think I'm the outlier out of everybody here.
Yeah, I'm in community organizing.
But that's still a solid path in my opinion.
I mean, like, I treat that shit I care about. It ain't because it's bread there.
If I did my job for the money, I wouldn't be doing my job.
Talk about it.
Respectfully,
Sure.
like just because of the work, though. First of all, the workload that comes to the compensation of that, like how much you have to do, how much goes on off the clock. You don't do that because you getting a fat check for it. Like I have a heart for getting people's stories out that, plainly put, just don't get them out. A lot of my stories are, the uncomfortable conversations about how the
But be real. Be real right now.
I'm okay.
There's not a sense of pride that goes into it.
1,000%. I got a whole.
I'm on TV. Be honest. Like,
I got a whole.
I'm on TV.
Look, yes, for sure, and I think that everybody has that different pride in their different respective field of expertise.
For sure.
So you
Go off, sis.
You were talking about how your perception plays into your idea of masculinity and manhood, or plays into men's ideas of masculinity and manhood. Damn, them mimosas hitting just a little bit. I can't speak.
God, they hit. Champagne delight.
Honestly, good.
But and the point you were making to Derek was like, don't you feel like proud as a man to be able to say that you bring home X amount and say that you're on TV, or for me to say like, oh, I'm a chef, I got items on the menu, or you got articles out, you got videos out. I'm not sure what you brag out on the community organizing thing. I did this event and
He
niggas
made
showing up.
$10K for this company.
Yeah, whatever.
Organization.
It's not really what I
But
do.
They trying. Give them an A for effort. Come on now.
the point is, like, we take pride in like feeling well perceived by people, but I think that there's a lot of insecurity that comes in relationships when you aren't being well perceived by, either you're not being well perceived by that person in y'all's like individual thing, or
You're saying about like a shorty.
yeah, we're talking about men and women. Or
You want to be
like,
perceived as the good guy.
relationships.
You want to be perceived as a good
be
man.
perceived as the good guy. You want to be perceived as a provider. You want to be perceived as a protector. And when you are falling short in any of those areas, there's way more areas than 3. But when you start falling short in any of those areas, that can really take a really negative toll on your relationship. Like me personally, be broke. Not even like be broke from like.
No, that's. I be broke. Yeah.
And that's a crazy thing for me to say, but if we really look at like the stats and all that other shit, like a lot of in our demographic, whether they're black, whether they're men, or whether they're young, there's lots of that we share categories with that are equally as broke, if not broker than us. But we have a mixture of this.
That smooth said I ain't broke.
I'm not broke.
I'm not gonna say I'm broke. I just stash my money so well, and I put it in places where I can't touch it.
Ladies,
that
but
is
if
like-
ladies, I'm not
That
broke.
was still.
I cycle between broke and not broke. I ain't gonna lie. I make bad financial decisions.
We're talking about long run broke here. Nobody in this, I'm not gonna say nobody in this room, but the majority of the in this room are not thinking about buying a house, except for the one that has a house.
I'm absolutely thinking about buying property.
Come on now.
I'm thinking about it, but I can't do it.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I've gotten to that point too, where I'm thinking about buying it for the camera.
okay.
Why you? No.
But
I'm
I will
definitely
say-
not capping. I
will say-
like
I
I
ain't
said.
buying it, but I done thought about it. But I ain't doing it. I can't.
Tidbit for everybody. You buy a house, I promise you, what you pay, it will be less than your rent.
Right now,
I do
housing.
believe, I know that mortgages are always less expensive and way better financially than rent.
But go ahead. Yeah.
My point about being broke, and niggas don't even be broke all the time. just be broke at crucial situations most of the time, especially in relationships.
Yeah.
But you get
No, wait.
I don't
Yo,
wanna-
stop. Everybody stop. Just sat here and capped my man Cam like that. I don't realize what broke really is. Broke is if you go a month without getting paid and you like, I'm hurting, you broke. That's broke.
that is what I mean.
We homeless adjacent.
By homeless.
It's like,
Most of
for some
us.
reason, the shut down again for 6 months and you broke.
Most of us are a $500 to $1,000 expense away from
I'm
poverty.
saying, like,
Once again,
I don't think we would lie to each other in here.
I'm not-
sorry,
yeah,
John, to cut
like,
you off,
yeah,
but hold
yeah.
on, let's go back to this real quick. Just give it 1 second. I don't think you really understand that, like, it's not lying to each other in here,
Bruh,
well, I'm
not making enough money, not say they not broke. Not even being funny like that.
We could.
No.
We can cut this. We can cut this.
We don't have to
No,
cut
we
it. We don't have to
keep
cut
this
it.
in.
Okay.
We don't have to cut it.
We could live check to check, but it's at the same time we could be not broke.
Living check to check is broke.
I mean, okay, so
Living check to check is broke.
I would say that is.
I don't think that's
fundamentally- Like it is though because
like I
Watch
say,
this.
I stash money, so it's like I stash money in places where I can't touch.
I don't
it.
live check to check. Let's start with that first of all. But even if somebody does live check to check, I don't think that's broke. So
I want to say right now. Let's not get. We can get into. I'm almost positive right now. I have the highest salary in the room. Not even being that guy.
Yeah.
I have the highest salary in the room. I consider that salary a broke ass salary for the housing market,
yeah,
for
I see what you're saying.
healthcare.
I
It's
see
a
what you're
broke
saying.
ass salary.
that's more so what I mean by is broke. Like maybe
I think we're getting. I think
We are getting-
on the no, but on the point of what you're saying. On the point of what you're saying, I see what you're saying. You're saying broke as a concept of like, as it pertains to the cost of life in general.
Yes.
Yes, I'm just saying like on my living expenses and what my cost of living is, I'm straight.
That's
I'm
what I
not
was
saying
And
broke
I-
as in you can't afford to live.
I understand. Like we're not in the tax brackets that would put us in the wealthy or in the affluent spaces, and we can't. And like that, in a sense, of course, I would say that we fall into the. I don't like using the word broke because
broke means broken in your head or
I was just
all those
saying.
other
Well,
types
more
of
so
things.
broke is a state of mind, but essentially that. But I say
You're well off.
I'm not well off by no means. I'm not well off by no means.
But you can't complain.
I'm not complaining at all.
Can't complain.
Not complaining at all.
I'm a complain. I want more money. I want housing to be cheaper, and I want more money. When I say I'm broke, it's not a like I'm broke. Woe is me. I'm broke. Like nah, I know where the fuck I'm at now.
You know where you
With this something F that. I want 100. I want 120. I want 200. Until I get that, I'm broke.
I think that's a mindset.
I think that's
That is a
I definitely
mindset.
think that's more
Yeah, I
catered
think that's
towards
for
your
sure, bro.
perspective.
That.
By broke,
I see what you're saying though.
Paid, are you going hungry some nights?
No, but still, I'm still
I'm saying
broke.
You're not broke.
You're
bro.
But
not
what
broke. But to clarify all of this, when I said broke originally, I just meant not.
We
wealthy.
definitely wormholed a little bit too deep
super
on
we
the
super
word broke.
wormhole.
We weren't no.
Let's take the broke word out of it because got into it. Nobody in this room is wealthy.
So
I
you
feel
even
we
call
can
him
all
broke on
agree
camera.
on that.
I'm not wealthy.
I'm not well off. I'm
At
not
least
well
not
off.
financially. We could be wealthy in all times. We're wealthy in relationships. We're wealthy in love and all those other nitty gritty things. But none of them is paying the bills or buying no house.
We can't buy a shorty a LV just because.
No, you can't. And that is, I think that will be starts to make. That's the point I'm kind of making, or the point I was trying to make originally when it comes to like issues with perception in relationships. I can't buy a girl a Birkin because that's just not realistic for me.
Yeah.
And granted, most girls aren't expecting me to buy them a Birkin, but when they sit here and repost that Jada Waiter got a Birkin and that Lotto got a Birkin and Cash Doll got a Birkin from all these that they with, and they're like, oh, their man loves them so bad. Even if they don't intend for that to be directed to me, it's like, damn, I can't buy a Birkin. Does she think I don't love her? Not. I know I love her,
Yeah.
but does she think I don't love her? And that has to do with perception.
Can I hop in on this? What I've noticed about myself is that because I may notice that like I'm not well off, so materially I can't fulfill all of those spaces, and I feel like that's what's the most visible. Doesn't always matter. Sometimes, a lot of times it don't matter. I would argue,
But it is the most visible. It's
most
what
visible.
we can see.
Yeah. It caused me to overcompensate. And I think a lot of people probably would say that.
What do you mean by overcompensating?
Like, so because I can't do in that area, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try and overexert in like the, I work out and da 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 da, or I don't know. I'm just saying like, but like I tend to super highlight what I
can
have
do instead of what you don't have.
But I will say that like when I go by myself, when I'm by myself, I'll be like, damn. I'll be in my head.
Can I speak on that though? Because what you just said is real, but I want to speak of it. I want to speak to the who might be called anxious or whatever y'all might be called, because I can resonate with that.
Oh boy, let me get a drink. Hold up.
No, for real, because what you said about overcompensating, when you feel like your masculinity is challenged in one area, you overcompensate. So a big part of at least what society says masculinity is, a lot of times is rooted in how many women you sleep with, how many women on your line and things like that, right? And I've noticed that with myself in the past, where I'm not making more money than somebody else, or I can't buy you this bag and take you on this exotic trip, right? I'm not driving the Hellcat, and I don't have a nice big crib for you to come home to. So my compensation for myself, right, not for you, but for myself, to feel like that man, is to resort back to that masculine thought of, I got hoes, I get hoes, right? So in the past, it's caught me up. Even when I was in a relationship, it's like, damn, bread ain't right. Pandemic hit, job shutting down, not my politicking type. So now I'm like, I gotta fall back to I got hoes. And it, like,
what kind of perception does that create though?
I think it's more so I think that validation of perception comes from other men, right?
And that's when perception matters more for you in that scenario?
It did, right?
I would agree.
Perception of men matter more than the perception that my girl received. Because at the end of the day, all she cared about was how I'm loving her, how I'm listening to her, all those things. But I was more concerned about the perception of what other, and not even say men, like adult ass boys who care about how many women you get,
how many people you talking to.
Yeah, all that.
Like that friend group that just talk about women.
Exactly.
And that's so, cause like, as you just said that, cause it just hit a light bulb in my head. Because I agree 1000%. How, if your girlfriend's in here, if y'all don't think that like I'm holding down, then I don't feel like I'm holding down. Yeah. Even if she tell me like, I appreciate you, like I appreciate everything that you did. Thank you for picking me up. Thank you for putting gas in my tank. Da 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 da. If y'all boy be like, damn, you ain't open the door. I'm like, damn. Mm-hmm. I ain't doing shit. Like you know.
That's all.
I feel like that's something from within though, because it's like.
But I feel like that's a lot of guys too.
I definitely can agree with you on that. I think
two things can be true at the same thing at the same time. It can be from within.
Let's smoke go.
That's all I was about to say.
I didn't hear what you said.
I was just saying, I think there are a lot of men that look for validation in other men, and that's a little questionable. But
well, two things. Like I said earlier, we are communal creatures. We're social creatures. We're human beings, so we do thrive in groups. Do we always thrive in a way that is considered positive? No, but most of the time, when you get any group of human beings together to do something, they're gonna do whatever the it is they decide to do really well.
Yeah.
And I mean, I really think that, I think that's, like I said, I think that's dependent on within, because it's like, when you live with like different types of people, you see different types of things. Like, I ain't gonna really speak too much on like who I lived with, but it's like, you know, you might have those roommates where you might see them with a bunch of women, then you got that one roommate that you don't really see with women. You might talk about different things with these different women, not women, but with these different roommates, and it's like you getting two sides of the spectrum, and at the end of the day, it's about like
I don't think it's about what's within, actually. I think it's about which, in this circumstance, it's about what you surround yourself with. right? So because I think it is natural, like you're saying, to be communal. You're gonna care about your friends' perceptions of you, and if your friends' values are bullshit and rooted in toxic masculinity or whatever it may be, you're gonna be worried about the perception to cater to that. But if you surround yourself with people who are actually like worried about respect, worried about their careers, worried about like actually like loving their woman, taking care of their woman, right? Taking care of their family, then that perception is then positive. That, you know, you see what I'm saying? I think we all care about it to an extent, but it's about who's around you.
I agree with that, but you can't always control who's around you.
Yes, you
like,
can.
Yeah, you can.
You can and you can't. I'm about to give y'all a great example as to how sometimes you can't. So when I used to work at my old job, it was a fine dining type spot, and it was a very like toxic masculinity kitchen. And I don't have any choice if I want to pay my bills. Like, yes, I can go and find another job, but that takes a lot of.
But I think that's within, in the sense that.
Let them cook.
No. I do let me cook. Like, yes, I control the groups that I could control, but like, even if you're at your job and they hire a bunch of crazy that believe in toxic masculinity, or they send you to a community that believes in toxic masculinity, and for whatever reason it may be, this group is not in your control, so you can't pick and choose who shares your values because you have to be with this group of people and they don't share your values. It's really hard to uphold your values when everybody in the group doesn't care about them because they have no meaning in that situation.
I agree, Cam, but let me say this, right? You four I can call, and y'all can tell me what the fuck is and what the fuck ain't. Y'all just gonna keep it real with me. You see what I'm saying? So if I'm in spaces where talking bullshit, I got family members. I don't got no good men in my family. Dads ain't shit. Granddads ain't shit. Uncles ain't shit. Right? But I've surrounded myself with who gonna hold me accountable to be an actual good man. You feel me? So in that sense, like, when outside BS comes in, because internally I say, these are people I want to be like. I look up to you. You feel what I'm saying? Not on like no like pedestal type shit, but y'all all got traits that I'm like, okay, I want to be more like this, right? In that sense. So when it's some BS on the outside, I can call a Derek, a Cam, a Dejan, a Jay Lenz, right? And y'all gonna tell me what it is and get me straight on the right path. So you do control the sense of, like, you control it in the sense of like, where are you putting more weight at your job or your friends that's gonna hold you down?
And I will, to piggyback off that, I will say, like, I think for me growing up, like, the older I got, the more I realized I didn't want to be like my father. Mm-hmm. Like, our relationship ain't really nothing at this point. But
I was gonna let. I've been wanting to talk for a minute. I was gonna let talk, and I was
I
just come in for a minute.
Yeah, I think for me, like, that was a big perception. Like, it was, I don't want to be like my father. Like, my perception of him has a lot to do with, like, the type of person I am now. I'm not really a people person. I'm not saying he is. But anytime I was with my father, you know, he always, that's just being from the city, you always stopping, talking to people and stuff like that. Like, I think once I got to high school and I kind of like realized like who he is, that's when I kind of like started directing myself in a different path. Like, I wasn't calling his phone all the time. Like, when I got to college, it really stopped because it was just like, I don't really need you no more. Like, it's just, okay, cool, you're my father. Maybe one day we'll talk to each other, but right now I don't need to talk to you. Like, I got my mother, I got my grandmother, I got my sister, got my step pops. Like, if anything, I'm gonna call them before I call you.
That's crazy how those two just like connected on opposite fronts. Yeah. From what Cam said earlier. Go ahead, Les.
All right, so one, I feel you 100%. Like, literally 100%. My dad was not in my life when I was a child. Literally, my senior year playing football. I'm pretty sure I played football because my dad was a football coach. He did not come to a single one of my football games my senior year. To me, that hurt. So, by the time I got to college, I was like, you know what? There's nothing he can do to make me want to be like him. And he literally apologized 1,000 times. Like, me and him had a deep conversation. This man is crying in front of my face. like apologizing to me about things that he did wrong in my life and in his life. But to me, my perception of him changed immediately then. Like, don't get me wrong, I love him. Like, our relationship has gotten a lot better. But at that point in time, I was like, bro, like,
You can't.
I have nothing for you, right? Period. So I'm gonna end that conversation there. That's all I gotta say on that. But back to my, like, our friend group, like our relationship, like as just in general. I think that, like, my perception of y'all. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. On the pod, I'm gonna be honest. I apologize to everybody on the pod right now. So, I think that when it comes to my immediate friend group, like, I give my guys credit where it's due. You know what I'm saying? My boys be out here, like, they do their thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, when it comes to being in certain social spaces, they excel better than I do.
Okay, I thought you was gonna take that somewhere completely different, but you just no go.
Let him cook.
So I say that to say that, you know, in the social spaces that my guys do excel in, and the ones that I don't, you know, I tend to shrug it off, or I'd be like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I don't do this. I don't do that, or just things of that nature. And I just kind of like. I try to downplay the situation where I'm just like, you know, these guys are talking about, like, you know, things that they doing this weekend, what they doing the next weekend, who they doing it with, and just different vibes. And I'm just like, I'm just by myself. So, like, in a way, my perception of myself even changed. Like, you know, like, I love you guys. I do, for real. But it's like when y'all talking about certain things, and I'm just like, I haven't even experienced those things, or I haven't even done anything close to that. It's just like, damn, am I doing something wrong? Like I had to do a lot of self-reflecting in the past. I think really this summer is what I've had to really do, is just self-reflect a lot. And it's like, am I doing something wrong? And in me doing a lot of self-reflection, I've learned that, no, I'm not doing anything wrong. I am who I want to be. Like, when my time comes, it'll be my time. But if it doesn't come, then so be it. Like, it is what it is. Like, I don't, at a certain point in time, did I feel a certain way about how I was perceived in my group? Did I try to do things to make myself be more perceptive? Now, honestly, all right, I'm gonna be honest again. I think that might be why at a certain point in time in my life, I was shooting so many shots in the dating space. You know, I'd be like, you know what? All my guys is pulling. I don't got no girls on my line. I don't got no shorties. Let me see if I can go pull a shorty. So I think that's why I would shoot so many shots. I think that's why people would call me a volume shooter. I think that's why also in turn in itself, I would get curved more, because
That's not who you are, really. But
Exactly.
you're doing it because you feel like that's what you have to do in order to be a mixture of, in order to be perceived like the group is perceived, and also in order to perceive yourself the way that you perceive everyone else in the group.
Exactly.
I think everybody searches for, like, no matter what it is, I think everybody searches for some sort of validation. Like, I think for me, like, I'm gonna just say this real quick because I don't want to spiral back into that, but, like, at work, like, even though I'm not doing entirely what I want to do in my career, like, even from, like, the job before this one I got now, like, there was always a sense of pride and validation in what I did, because it's like, once you
Still want to do well.
yeah, like, you always want to do well, you always want to be, like, one of those top people in what you do. So, like, I completely understand, like, what you're saying.
I appreciate you sharing first and foremost. That, you didn't have to. You didn't have to open up on that.
sure.
But what I would say to that is, this is one of the points that I wanted to make as we kind of wrapped on this portion of it, and I think it's just very important to know as people, as brothers, especially at this and on this couch, that perception ain't reality. And so what I mean by that is, the same way you sat there and you just told us that we, like, based on our experiences, it made you kind of challenge or question the perception of yourself. That's translatory for if it's in relationships and in the dating space for you, it's in the professional space for me. Because the same way you have that perception question is the same way I have that perception question with how I shoot video, or how I capture my audio, how I edit my audio, how I edit my video, my transitions, all of this different stuff, the color grading. You see my text messages. They probably get annoying because I ask you 25,000 questions about one specific video. And it may not, but I do it because that's how highly I hold you in regard for what you do. So much so to the point that when I see it, I'm like, bro, I ain't. And then it's like, from that perspective, I have to challenge myself to be like, you know what? Like, on one hand, he's been exposed to a lot more spaces in the creative space of content creation that I have. So I'm still on my way. And I would just kind of encourage you to think about it from that perspective in life. Like, whenever you have people around you that may be farther along in a space, whatever space that is, that's right where you need to be. Because why the fuck do you want to be the person that's got it all in the space? You can't learn nothing. You can't learn nothing. And so, in that regard, I always am trying to be around somebody that's more, dismissive of like other people's perceptions, or somebody that can cook their ass off, or somebody that has more concepts on how systems work in society, or somebody that does have the concept of how different video specs play into an editing software and then an export for 24K to like 10, you know what I'm saying? That matters. I pull something from each one of y'all. You like that? And that's why I can always be in the same room with y'all, because I know that I always got something that somebody's better than me at, but can teach and is willing to teach because they care about me as much as I care about this.
Preach it, Pastor.
You know what I'm saying?
No, for real. And I want to use this moment right now too, because you just said a lot of good things, and yes, we talk about topics, but this is also a very therapeutic space, a very, healing space, and it's a space to like let people that you appreciate and love, to let them know that. And you mentioned, like, you might look at us, I'm included in that us, and you maybe have this social space worked out. And I just want to piggyback off what he said about, not for me for film, but like you brought up earlier, like how good of a big brother you are, right? And I see that. And when I see that, like, this is how Jay Lenz like interacts with Nick and Lay, how he has this relationship with his mom and things like that. I look at that and I'm like, damn, I want to be a good big brother. I got 3 little sisters. You know what I'm saying? I haven't always been the best role model for them. I'll look up to you in that sense, right? You see what I'm saying? Like, we're sitting in this house that you've been fixing up and that you've gotten looking dope as hell. You see what I'm saying? From a whose apartment got shot up last September. You see what I'm saying? Like,
mine was a year ago. Ours was a year ago, I should say.
So like, there's other like these things that like you have that I look up to, right? As like damn, this really doing this shit, and I'm proud. You feel what I'm saying? So like, it's there. It's there.
Yeah. And go ahead, man.
Can I say something that is not along the same lines? It has to do with what y'all are saying, but it doesn't have to do with what y'all are saying. Because there's other perspective, perceptions, things that I've done with this whole group. And I'm going to just go ahead and put this shit out on the air now. Because you probably have noticed / peeped by now. It's been, how long ago was 2019? 4 years? I dropped out of school. Everybody else on this couch has a degree.
Wow.
And for the longest time...
I got 2. I'm just...
It's crazy. Now, yes, that's...
Again, hey.
But for the longest time, I used to... And I still find myself doing that sometimes. Comparing myself to people that have degrees. And for X, Y, and Z reason, their lives, in my eyes, are easier. Because they can take their degree and do X. And take their degree and do Y. But there's sometimes where you have to change your perspective and see what you can, take and grow from people. But there's other ways in which you have to take your perspective and realize it's not reality, and the fact that it doesn't matter. Like, not that y'all's degrees don't matter,
I see what you're
but
saying.
the fact that I don't have a degree doesn't matter, because I'm able to do exactly what I want. I don't have that stress of like feeling, I've let go of that stress rather, of feeling like I'm a disappointment. I don't feel like, for the longest time, I was perceived as a disappointment by my friends, by my family, by random people that may have known that I started college or not. But at the end of the day, that perspective doesn't matter, because that perspective isn't reality. I'm not a failure because I didn't finish school.
Yeah. So I want to wrap on this. Because we've been, It's like an hour and a half by now. We've been sliding.
Yeah,
We've been
no,
sliding.
facts.
Great content. I want to wrap with this question. It's a 2-part question, and then we'll get up out of here. The first part of it is, how do you think that other people perceive you? Second part, how do you perceive you? So I'll start because I feel like I wanted to lead the charge on this one. I would say, based off of conversations and interactions I had with other people here recently, I would say other people perceive me as a arrogant, slightly narcissistic, conceited person. They think that I know everything. Very Virgo energy, very like type A. I don't really know what Virgo means, but like at this point, people keep saying like Virgo man a lot, so I got to do some homework on that, what that means more.
When are you born?
September 18th, birthday's in the month, my brother. Almost a month to the day.
But you don't really give.
Almost a month to the day. But see, I feel like that plays into the fact that that'll play into the second portion of it. But anyway, so that perspectives, those are perceptions, that I think are pinned to me a lot. Along with very like demanding and like type A. What I will say as far as like how I perceive myself, I perceive myself as somebody that strives very, very hard to always be as prepared as I can with the information I have for whatever situation. I have to plan. I have to be ready for everything because one of my family members always tells me, he says it all the time. He's like, it don't matter. It's not an if, it's a when, but it's always gonna rain. You got to be ready for it when it's gonna rain. And so like I always try to make sure I'm ready. And I fail. Everybody does, but I try to. I'm that, but I'm also somebody that I love my folks, man. I love my people, And that's the only perceptions that really matter to me. I'm not perfect. I don't do a whole lot of stuff right a whole lot of times, but I definitely always try to stay straight and stay ready, and I always try to make sure I love on my folks. So those are my perceptions of myself. I don't know if that's the right way to put the perceptions, but that's definitely what I take away from how I see myself. What y'all got?
You don't want to go down the line?
Might as well. Cam, what you got?
Okay, you said for how do you think people perceive you? That's the first one, and then how do you perceive you? I don't know. I feel like thinking people perceive me is a very like open-ended question because I feel like different people in different aspects of my life perceive me in different ways.
Yeah.
And I feel like the ways in which people perceive me are vastly different. So it's really hard to pin down how people perceive me. I do think people see me as type A sometimes. I don't give Virgo energy, I give Capricorn energy, which I am technically a Capricorn, but I don't know what that shit means. So that's beside the point. People think that I'm like, I always feel the need to be right all the time, and that it's always my way or the highway and my word goes. And I don't think that I am like that about everything. I think the way I perceive myself is that when I know I'm right, I've done the research to know that I'm right, or it's something that I morally feel, ethically, whatever in me is the right thing to do. So if I'm standing on some shit, I'm standing on it for a reason. And that's what I want people to realize.
Cam. Come on now. Standing on that bidding, boy.
So how do you? So that's your that kind of played into it.
Yeah,
that really answered it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I respect that. Smoke. No, I'm not calling you Smoke. Streets call you Smoke. I call you Dason.
I think people see me as mysterious. I've had people say to me that don't really know me, you don't give a
I get it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, but I get why people.
I get it too, because I don't. I just provide the space for things that I care about.
I stop hitting the neck, brother. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Be serious. Okay.
I think for me, my perception of myself, I think for me, it's like I'm not really a mysterious person. I'm a person who asks questions. So when I'm trying to figure something out, I ask questions. So like if you ask me questions, I'm typically an open book. Like I might tell you a joke, but I never tell you a lie. So like I think when it comes to the mysterious thing, like that's their perception versus me being an open book. I think I'm an open book. Do I not care about certain things? Absolutely not. And I think I would say I'm very family oriented too. Like I'll drop everything from my mother, my grandmother, my sister, my nephew, my step siblings, all that. Even certain cousins could call me tomorrow and need me to come 3-4 hours away for something, and I might call out of work or I might drop whatever I'm doing. I'm very much so family oriented. I have cousins that like I don't speak to often, but whenever we do speak to each other, it's like we never stop talking to each other. So I think that's my perception of myself.
I'm gonna start backwards. I'm gonna go with my perception of myself first. I think the way I perceive myself is like I'm a really genuine, caring, laid back guy. I like to have fun. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think anything that I do isn't like fun in some way, shape, or form. Like unless we're just chilling. You know what I'm saying? I think that I'm a very family-oriented guy. There isn't really anything I wouldn't do for my friends. At least I don't think there isn't. And then
Take a battery out of a car in 98-degree weather. You dipped on me on that.
okay, I'm sorry.
You never miss an opportunity, do you?
But I will say my other friends were expecting me to go hoop. So, you know what I'm saying?
You wouldn't go hoop instead of help with a battery is crazy.
Cut that part.
That's crazy.
Might have to cut that
You
part.
had two situations in which your friends were in need.
Exactly.
Oh God.
Like I was needing both situations.
Nobody needs the basketball court.
You think they needed you?
Dang.
Would you have been here?
Y'all about to start something else. We trying to
Go
finish
ahead.
by answering the question.
This is your fault. I just want you to know that.
It was.
I'm talking about him. It's his fault.
Anybody come to see you, Otis?
Bro, why y'all keep cutting my lens off, bro? Bro, go ahead, Lens.
Perceive Lens to the you because we don't give Lens a chance to speak. So speak ahead.
The way I think others perceive me, I think I'm perceived as, to some people, I think I'm perceived as a gentleman. I'm a really like nice guy. I think that some people perceive me as like very much like understanding and self-reflecting. And then again, I also think some people see me as sometimes kind of arrogant. So I think that's kind of what people see me as.
And bringing up the rear.
I feel like y'all have said some really good things, and I hate to be the last one to end it on a semi-negative note. And I don't mean this in like a poor self-esteem, low self-esteem kind of way. I think it's looking at it objectively what the world views as such. I'm probably the biggest up here in the sense of like made the most mistakes, made the most bad decisions. And I think that goes heavily into people's perception of me. So I do think, people have a very negative perception of Raekwon, right? Whether that's from school or whatever, right? Social settings. And like, as far as maybe a troublemaker or slut or, whatever it may be, negative things. And I think I saw Tusi say this, and it's been in my head since I saw him talk about it, though. He talked about how, like in movies, right, there's a villain. And the villain is always willing to, like, do whatever for, like, a specific cause or somebody he cares about or whatever. Like, it does not matter. He'll burn the city down for like somebody he love and care about. And he was saying, like, to him, that's the hero. You know what I'm saying? And I think about just how I operate my life. It is in a very sometimes villain manner, in the sense of I am willing to break all moral codes and ethics for people I care about, people I love. So like, I live my life in that manner though, of like, that I care about, that I rock with. No, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all wouldn't be here with me if everything everybody said and thought about me was true. You feel me? Even like when I think about settings where it's like, just an example, Raekwon like started a fight at my birthday party. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like, yes, Raekwon was in a fight at your birthday party and ruined your birthday party. At the same time, Raekwon was fighting for somebody that he was there with and he cared about. That's why the fight popped off. And I'm willing to be the villain in those settings because of that. So that's the perception people have. And then of myself, it is like, I care about people. You know, just generally, I do care about people. I love my people. And I am willing to make sure they straight no matter what. You feel me? I think, yeah, that's really just the gist of it. Like, I care about people.
I can second that motion 1000%. I've seen each one of y'all's display of love in different forms, in y'all's unique forms, in so many different ways. I seen the way you would slide to go scoop anybody at any time for any situation if they call you. I have seen you, for me personally, come to me with information that you had questions about, that was perception or was allegation or whatever the case may be before, you know, it got public. I seen you do stuff for free that you deserved thousands for, just off the strength. And I done seen you get ready to throw hands, just like you said, in every single moment. And I say all of that because, you know, we talk about the honesty, vulnerability, and transparency in this space. Man, I was in a real, vulnerably, transparently, and honestly speaking, I've been in a real bad headspace the last couple of weeks. I've been in a real bad mental, emotional, physical headspace the last couple of weeks. We talked about bringing this topic up, and I was just like, I don't know what's going to come out. I thought I was going to be the first one to cry. I thought I was going to be the one to just like ball out, you know.
It ain't been no tears yet.
Knock on wood. It ain't been no tears yet. But this just filled my cup in a way that I didn't think it would. So, you know, we'll wrap here.
Can I say one last thing before you wrap?
Go ahead, man.
So, I just want to say maybe a tip or whatever. It's speaking about perception and just how you view yourself, self-esteem, self-efficacy. And this, I'm not sure if it's gonna hit anybody. I heard an African parable. Is that a parable? It's an African phrase, at least. African proverb. There we go. And it's basically, it says, if there is no enemy within, then no enemy outside can hurt you. And I think that really applies when it comes to this of just loving yourself, making sure you're right with yourself, that your morals and ethics, you stand on business in every sense of the way for who you want to be. And it does not matter at the end of the day then what anybody has to say, what anybody thinks about you, what anybody does against you, if you stand firm in who you are and what you believe in.
Don't be Beyonce with Whitney Houston habits.
Shout out to the hey, look. Like, share, subscribe. Comment what you think about perception, man. Listen, love y'all boys like cook food, man.
So you too, man. Cook food. Y'all follow me.
He couldn't wait. He couldn't resist.
I really tried to.
Hey, we out.
Tryna change the way I'm living, I know this shit wrong. Glad they free my nigga. nigga only seen him on the phone. Shit got real, I almost lost my life, thought it was gone. I was trying to make a move and I almost ain't make it home.